What has the US Supreme Court actually decided?
Yeah, so this is a clear legal victory for Donald Trump, and it looks to be a consequential one. The context is that the Colorado Supreme Court had previously determined that Donald Trump had engaged in insurrection through his incitement and support of the January 6, 2021 attack on the US Capitol, and that therefore he was ineligible to run for the presidency. Now, what the US Supreme Court has decided is that that was the wrong call by the Colorado Supreme Court, that individual states do not have the power to effectively ban people from running for federal office. Now, importantly, they haven't made a determination about whether or not Donald Trump is or isn't an insurrectionist. They're just saying that it is up to the Congress to ban people under the 14th Amendment if that's what they want to do. It's not up to individual states. But what it does mean is that Donald Trump is able to be on the ballots and continue his contest to be the US president once again. Now, Donald Trump, as you would expect, has welcomed the decision by the US Supreme Court.
They worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly on something that will be spoken about 100 years from now and 200 years from now. Extremely important. Essentially, you cannot take somebody out of a race because an opponent would like to have it that way. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's the leading candidate, whether it was the leading candidate or a candidate that was well down on the totem pole. You cannot take somebody out of a race.
Now, Carrington, tomorrow is a big day on America's electoral calendar. So what does this decision mean ahead of Super Tuesday?
Yeah, Super Tuesday is perhaps the second biggest day in the electoral map after the actual election. We'll see 15 states and one American territory individuals in those states will be able to vote on who they want to be the presidential candidates for the two major parties. Now, Donald Trump is well ahead, and today's decision means that at least one aspect, one shadow of doubt about his candidacy has been removed. And according to all the polls, it looks like he will sweep the board. Now, that will put a huge amount of pressure on his final candidate, the final competitor, Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor, who continues in this race despite the fact that she's well behind Donald Trump when it comes to the delegate count. Now, I did speak to an expert a little earlier today about what impact she thought this particular decision would have on that Republican race, and this is what she had to say.
He's going to weaponize it. And I think that part of what he's going to do is just rile up his base, just use it again to talk to sort of that MAGA crowd and say, the Supreme Court said I didn't do anything wrong and that I didn't cause an insurrection. Even though that's not what the Supreme Court said, that MAGA base isn't going to read the decision. They're going to take they're going to take it from him and what he says.
Now, on the Democrat side, the president, Joe Biden, is well ahead. He's not really facing any sort of competitor except a growing protest vote. What we saw last week in the Michigan state primary was this uncommitted vote. This is particularly among the progressive supporters of the Democratic Party, a way of them protesting, particularly Joe Biden's relationship with Israel and his support for the ongoing bombardment of Gaza. In Michigan, we saw over 100,000 people effectively vote against the president in the Democratic Party. The question is if there is growing momentum, a growing protest against Joe Biden, and whether or not that indicates that those people who at the moment want to protest his position on Israel and on Gaza, whether or not that would mean that they actually don't turn up to vote for him come November. So interesting races on both sides and a lot to watch tomorrow with Super Tuesday.
A lot to watch indeed. Carrington, thank you.